talk about WW2 time George Pillmore and I spent together.
Your name is Bill Nordstrom.
Yeah, that's right, Bill Nordstrom. Okay. It all started back when George was in the Navy ROTC at Colorado University. I was in the Navy ROTC at University of Michigan. They pulled our classes out early before graduation, right?
Right.
And commissioned us. And then they shipped us off to Solomon's Island, Maryland for training in amphibious stuff. Now, what did we do there, George?
Well, we were each assigned a crew, and I had a crew, and we were training with the idea that we'd go to the Pacific. And
that's right.
We'd been there for, what, about a month?
I think we've been there about a month.
Well, we got our commissions in February.
Right.
Was that when you got the 28th of February?
Yeah, I was the 27th. I had seniority.
Oh, that's right. You were senior.
I was senior by one number,
yeah,
one big.
Something like that. But anyway, we arrived, I think I got a week to get back there or something. So we must have arrived about the first week of March.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's
Solomon,
right.
and we trained there for about 2 months. Then all of a sudden we got this notice that a bunch of us were going to be pulled out.
Right.
And we didn't know where we were going.
That's right. Then they shipped us to Lido Beach.
There are 83 officers.
83 ensigns, brand new ensigns, that one beautiful gold stripe on this.
Well, you know, we might talk a little about what we did at Solomon.
Oh yeah, that was. Well, they restricted us the first 2 weeks. We couldn't leave the base, could we? As I recall.
Yeah, I think you're right. But later on, we got to go over into town, and
oh,
I think,
yeah.
We had some liberty around there.
It wasn't too long from Washington either.
There was a lot of incidents that took place while we were cruising the Chesapeake Bay. We'd go out in the Chesapeake. Well, one time we had to go land a bunch of Marines up at Cove Point, remember? And we'd come back into Solomon's. There was a long channel where we would come in following the buoys into the channel after we had these exercises. I remember that one guy ran into the red-headed guy ran into that buoy, and we called it, what was that buoy?
I don't know.
Something red.
Probably channel marker or something.
Well, yeah, but the guy's name was Red somebody, and we always kidded him about hitting this red buoy. One time we went out there, and it was an early morning exercise, and the ship ahead of me, it was dark, the ship ahead of me stopped alongside another boat or something, and I didn't know what had happened, and I looked, and as we came by this thing, I thought it was two guys in the rowboat, so I waved to these guys, and as we went on, the guy in back stopped and picked them up. When I got back to the base, I found out that the ship ahead of me had hit this fertilizer scow and sunk it.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't a rowboat, it was a sinking ship, and these guys were waving that they needed to be saved, and I didn't know it.
One of the things I remember when we were cruising there in the Chesapeake, you and I were pretty good on the signal light, as I recall. And
oh, yeah, we'd always talk
back and forth together that way. Over in Normandy as well as there all the time.
Do you remember that age?
Yeah, sure. We were pretty good at this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, we were going up the bay there one night, and somebody on a signal light flashed up, "Oh, to be in England now that April's there." And I thought that was really neat. We ended up there in England. Well, then they sent us to Lido Beach, where the Marines worked us over for a couple of weeks, physical ed stuff, while we were waiting.
It was 4 days.
Was it 4 days?
It was only 4 days.
Seemed like an eternity.
Seemed like a long time.
These were Marines that were back from Guadalcanal and that, and fresh meat with.
We'd go out and run the obstacle course. 83 of us, right?
Yeah, 83 guys.
And we'd do that all day, and we'd get off about 5 o'clock. I guess we ate supper there.
Yeah.
And then we'd grab the train to go into New York City. And we'd stay in there until You know, like we'd get back to the barracks about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then they'd get us up at about 5 o'clock.
Oh, they showed no mercy.
So for 4 days it was murder because we were tired the whole time.
And you and I got on the same ship when we were going to England with the China Mail.
China Mail.
I think there were about, what, 10 or 12 of us on that ship?
Had the French cook.
Yeah, and they were carrying railroad engines on the deck, I think.
I don't remember what was on the deck.
Anyway, we took off in convoy and went to England.
I know I learned not to play poker with the guy that was the Army that guy rode those ships back and forth and played poker with anybody that was on board.
That'd be good.
And I played with him one night and lost about $10, and I thought, no.
Free.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, we're on the China Mail. 12 days at sea, wasn't it?
12 days, we're eating that greasy French food that they cooked on China Mail.
Yeah. Then we landed in Liverpool.
Right. We sat out there in the harbor for at least a day and a half to 2 days.
Yeah, that's for the birds. After that.
And then we finally, I guess we were waiting for orders to where we were supposed to go? Or what?
I don't know, but soon as they dumped us off in Liverpool, I know we ran to a bar, and the beer was very warm.
Yeah, we got to look around. I remember going to the Liverpool Cathedral. It was partly bombed out.
You also went to a bar.
Yeah, we went to a bar.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was, that was when we first tasted that warm beer.
Yeah, that was warm too.
Mild and bitter, or bitter,
Yeah.
any of them they were all warm.
Yeah. Then we got on the train and went down by Plymouth.
Yeah, but that train ride, I don't know if you remember sitting in those compartments.
Yeah.
But we had 4 guys to a compartment. It was cold, there was no heat.
Right.
We rode all night. And what we did, I don't know which compartment you were in, but I remember that the 4 of us, we decided to sleep. We put 2 guys on the seats and 2 guys in the hat racks up above. So that's how we slept. We went through Cardiff.
Did we? Yeah, I forget that.
I think it stopped in Cardiff and then went on down to Plymouth. It took all night long.
Yeah, it was a long ride. Then we went to the flotilla, LCT Flotilla 12, right?
Commander Lighting, right?
Commander William Lighty
Right.
was the headquarters were in Saltash, which is right outside of Plymouth.
Right across the Pillmore River.
Right. Yeah.
From Plymouth.
It
It was in
pretty.
Cornwall. It was in Cornwall.
In Cornwall. That was a pretty place, though.
Oh,
Wasn't
yeah. Well, that headquarters was pretty nice.
it? It was nice. It was nice.
They had steward's mates there that served our meals,
Yeah, that was good living.
and we had liberty to go into the town.
Yeah,
It was nice.
that was
But we only got to do that for about 3 days.
that wasn't too much enough. Then they hopped us on a train for Portland, Weymouth. Right.
Portland Bill is what they called
Portland
it.
Bill. Yeah. Where we found our LCTs, landing craft for tanks.
Landing craft tank. Bill you were what,
622.
and I was on the 614.
Right.
We were second officers.
Second officers. They already had a skipper aboard.
That was what all of the 83 guys were designated as second officers on LCT.
And I guess the idea of that was, preparing for the invasion, to have 2 officers aboard instead of 1.
Right.
For one reason
So
or another.
so we got there about, what would be the date? April.
I don't know.
Must have been near the end of April.
I think so.
About I'd guess May 6th,
Around in there.
around there someplace. It was in May, that's what it was.
So we were able to get around Weymouth and that a little bit when we were there. And we took those 2 wrens out to tea.
We went to Weymouth.
Didn't drink beer then.
No, we had tea.
Had tea.
Weymouth. A nice town.
It was pretty.
It wasn't beat up.
No, it was nice. But Portland Bill Harbor was just jammed with ships. LSTs, LCTs. The Ancon, as I recall, was our flagship.
Admiral Kirk.
Admiral Kirk, right?
Yeah, the Ancon was there, and a lot of LSTs and a lot of LCTs.
Right.
And the funny part of it, they put us out in the harbor. It's a circular harbor that was ringed with land. Part of it was artificial fill, but it was a circular harbor and only had an entrance one way to the ocean. But they had anti-aircraft guns all around that circular harbor to protect the ships against bombing raids. But the tide would go in and out, and we were tied to buoys in that harbor, and the ships would swing
with the tide.
Swing as with the tide on the buoy. Do you remember that night that they dropped all those delayed action mines?
Oh boy, what a noise!
Well, the next day, they dropped these things and they were set to go off at different times during the day. And so every so often, during the following day, one would go off and get this huge explosion because it was kind of a shallow harbor.
Yes, it was.
And, but you didn't know when you might be swinging on the buoy right over one of those mines. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking that way with those things going off all day.
Then they loaded us up too. You ran the LCT up onto a heart, as they called it. It was like a boat launching ramp, but it was to run your LCT up there, and then you load the troops.
We loaded the troops. Oh, what, like 3 days ahead?
Oh yeah, I think we had them aboard about a week.
Did we have them that long?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. But they came aboard, and we got all the supplies.
Yeah.
We drew supplies from an old castle that was a supply depot, and you go in there, and the place was a King Henry VIII castle. And the walls must have been 8 feet thick or something. This castle was really something.
Well, to digress, when we took these 2 wrens off, that's the same as the waves in our name. We'd arranged, I think, to see them on the following Saturday or something like that for a picnic. Well, then we get all loaded up with troops and everything. And then they sent us in for a briefing for D-Day, didn't they?
At Weymouth.
The officers
We went to Weymouth.
into Weymouth. And then we were frozen aboard. For many days we were sitting there in the harbor, waiting to go.
Yeah, and we got
to go ashore.
And the interesting thing about sitting there at night, the German bombers would come over. They had the ones that would come in and drop flares, and then they would come over to bomb, and they had searchlights all around Portland Harbor there. And the searchlights would pick these planes up, and then all these anti-aircraft guns would shoot at them. So you had this beautiful fireworks display. We couldn't shoot our guns. They wouldn't let us shoot them because they were 20 millimeters, and if they came down and hit a steel deck, the shells would burst and hurt somebody. So we weren't allowed to shoot our guns. But all the 40s and 5-inch guns around there were blasting away at these planes. And I think they might have hit one.
They might have.
I don't remember.
But I know one bomb came in and it blew me right out of the sack. It's so close. But no, I don't think they hit a ship.
I don't think they did.
I don't know how they could have missed, but it was like wall to wall.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Okay. Well, then we take off. We get the word to go take off for Normandy. We knew where we were going.
4th of June.
Yeah, and we were both going into Omaha Beach. George on LCT 614 and me on 622. Then we get going. It was a rough day, wasn't it, when we took off?
Oh yeah, it was bad weather.
Bad weather.
So they called it off.
How long? We were underway about 4 hours.
We were down by the Isle of Wight.
Yeah. Then this British ship comes along and destroyer or something tells us to turn around and go back home.
We didn't believe it was first.
They turned the whole convoy around. And we went back into Portland Bill.
Yeah, right back to the same place.
Right back there. But then they said, okay, the next day, because we were going to have at least a 24-hour trip across the channel.
Yeah, right.
It was at least that.
Yeah, oh yeah. We'd been underway for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, so, because we went up the coast to the Isle of Wight, and then we cut across in a swept channel going across.
Yeah, and these troops are really unhappy. The troops we had aboard were really unhappy because these guys had been in England up to their tails in water.
Yeah.
going through the mud and everything else on these maneuvers, and they were sick and tired of that, and they were anxious to get this thing over with. Here they start out, they think it's going to happen, and then all of a sudden it's called off. So they were really disgusted.
Now we had aboard our LCT, we had 72 troops, some of them from the 29th Infantry Division, and I don't know what else. And it was amphibious engineer kind of guys, wasn't it, for clearing the beaches.
So we had the same load as you did.
Yeah, you had the same load we did.
We had jeeps and bulldozers, big armored bulldozers that were supposed to make roads over there.
Yeah, clear the beaches so that the rest of the stuff would come in.
Yeah, there were two of those, and I guess they had trailers on to bring their supplies. But the thing that was a little disturbing was when I found out they had all this TNT on top of them.
Yeah. Those poor troops, they had to sleep on their equipment, under it, inside it.
Yeah, out on the deck.
Those poor guys, I had so much sympathy for them. They had a rough time, just even before they got over the, let alone what they had to go into.
Yeah.
But then you guys went in. We both went into Omaha Beach, but it was divided into sectors.
Well, yeah, it was the 5th we started out again. So it was
we started on the 5th, and then we landed in the morning of the 6th.
Yeah, that was the day.
6th of June, 1944.
And I forget the exact time. What time did
we were supposed to land about 7:30.
Yeah, it was supposed to be an hour after H hour, which was 6:30.
But then they held us off for a while because the beach was such a mess.
Well, we went in, I think, on time.
You probably went in. We didn't. We went in a little later. Yeah. I think they gave us a signal, hold off for 20 minutes or something like that.
There was some kind of a PC, Coast Guard PC there that directed us.
Said where to go.
But we were responsible for making sure we hit the right beach. And the whole thing was to look on these charts that we'd gotten at the briefing that showed the profile of the beach, and we had to identify where we landed by church steeples and things that stuck up on the beach that you pick up. So we finally figured out exactly where we're supposed to go.
It was right near Vierville-sur-Mer.
Well, that was your beach.
That was my beach.
We were near a little place called San Loren that had a cut that went up through the bluff and back to make the road. It was right near another town. I forgot the name of that town. San Loren. The place we landed at was called Les Moulins. In French, it was the windmill. It was only about 2 or 3 houses, Les Moulins, and then the little creek went up through there, cut in the bluffs, and back of that was the town called San Loren.
So what happened then? You went in, and then what happened? Did you get a dry landing? You get them in right
Oh,
on
no,
time?
we had an awful time. We sat on it. We were trying to get in to where we could get these troops off without drowning out their vehicles. They had waterproofing on the Jeeps where they had 2 little pipes that stuck up. One was for the air intake to the carburetor, and one was for the exhaust. And they could actually run those things with these pipes to where the water was up to the driver's neck.
Yeah.
And you could see this thing going underwater with the driver's head sticking out of these 2 pipes. But the first ones we launched were drowned out. The difficulty was a lot of the bombing that they'd done ahead of time created these shell craters under the water that made like what you'd think of as sandbars.
Yeah.
And we hit those, and then there were all these beach obstacles that were supposed to have been removed. So we stayed on the beach with the idea that as it was a rising tide, that if the tide got high enough, then we'd get to go over this stuff and go on into where we could get these troops off without too much trouble. So we sat there for an hour, trying to get the troops ashore.
That's no place to be sitting around for an hour.
No, there was a lot of going on over there.
Yeah, and the rough weather was rough. It was a rough sea and
a lot of
cold.
sea, rain.
Do you remember we were all wore gas protective clothing? That stinky stuff, and you
Yeah,
had to put stuff
yeah, we
on
had to
your
put
boots
that on. They didn't know but what the Germans might use gas
in
for.
case they used gas. So
Yeah, we
everybody
didn't
had
wear a
that
gas
stuff.
mask.
Oh, that was miserable stuff.
I
Anyway,
don't think I ever did put the gas mask on the whole
no,
time I was in Europe.
no, I never did.
Until we got back to the hotel in New York. That's
Okay,
another story.
so you did get them in there, and you got them off dry. I mean,
Yeah,
you
we
could
got
so that,
well. We didn't get them off dry. We finally got into where we could get them, and I think we pulled off once and then came back in again to get them all off. I don't recall exactly, but we finally got those bulldozers off, and I'm not sure that they lasted very long.
yeah.
There's a lot of shelling going on the beach.
Oh, those poor guys. That's where I learned instant respect for the Army.
Oh yeah.
Up until that time, of course, you always, well, we're in the Navy, you're better than you guys, or the Air Force competition. But the minute you saw that infantry get slugged the way they did,
Oh yeah.
immediately I said, hey, those are the guys that wear the combat infantry badge. They are rough.
Oh yeah. They went through some real tough times.
Oh, that was terrible.
We had some guys that I swear I would never want to do it, but they were waded right into that thing, and I'm sure that if they survived, they were responsible for making the success of the invasion.
Jeez. Then after you dropped them off, then what happened?
Well, we went out and anchored. We were told to stand off the beach because, as I understood it, Bradley was thinking about evacuating the beach. We were told to stand by for an evacuation. That was about 10 o'clock in the morning, as I recall. And then they finally got enough of the beach cleared of the machine gun action that was going on from behind the bluff that they could bring in the LSTs. The LSTs went in, I'd guess, around 11 o'clock in the morning. That's what I recall. But we still were told to stand off, so we waited until nightfall, and then we anchored. And I remember the first thing the next morning was the big guns on the battleship. It was a British battleship, I think it was called.
The Rodney was there, I know.
It was the Rodney. The Rodney was right next to us. And they were firing their 16-inch guns on some target ashore, but it was right over the top of us. It was just about blasted me out of the sack because it made so much noise. So I got up just in time to look out the hatch. I opened the hatch in the quarters there and looked out. And here was an LCI towing a rhino barge.
Oh yeah.
And the tide was setting it down where the LCI went on one side of us and the rhino barge on the other, and they couldn't do anything about it. So the skipper of the LCI yelled over to us to cut the cable. So we got out an axe and cut the cable, and then he pulled around and picked the rhino barge up again and took it under tow again. I don't know how they got the cable back on.
Oh, geez.
That was something. What happened? Did you spend any time on the beach after you landed?
No, well, we went in, and I think it was after you did. And then we offloaded our troops, and we just got them off and we were just retracting from the beach when we took a hit from an 88, and it instantly killed one kid, one of our troops. Fortunately, the troops were off at that time. But they were probably catching.
You were starting to pull off the beach.
We were starting to pull off the beach, right. Now, the troops weren't aboard, but they were probably catching it right there on the beach.
Sure.
Those 72 souls.
Yeah.
But this one kid was killed instantly. John Kaiser was his name, seaman. Then second-class explosives mate Joe Zawacki got it. He wasn't killed instantly, and we tried to patch him up, but we put him up on a destroyer that night. I think it was a Coast Guard destroyer.
It's a good thing you've done an orderly in the hospital. So
yeah, I was helping the pharmacist mate try to put this guy back together again, but it was a hopeless case, and he died.
Was the pharmacist made part of your crew?
Well, I think we just all carried one for the invasion.
I didn't have a pharmacist
Didn't you?
made on board ours.
No, we had one.
Well, that was fortunate.
Then we got rid of him. I mean, after D-Day, he left us. But then another kid named Ford got hit. So we put Case's body and Zawacki, who was still alive, but I think he died as soon as he got on that destroyer. And then Ford went back to and got off too. So then we pulled off the beach and then anchored for the night out there.
Do you have any other experiences then?
No, I mean, one thing I remember, I think it was a tanker that blew up out there. I can remember the great big explosion that night. I don't know if he hit a mine or a
Well, there were several ships.
torpedo. Boy, that thing
got hit
went up
by,
sky high.
They used to bomb those ships out.
Yeah,
Anchorage.
sure, that was awful.
At night there'd be a bombing raid. Well, when was it that your skipper started shooting at the beach? Was that before you landed or after?
I don't remember just when that was, but things were kind of screwed up. I'm not even sure he did. Maybe somebody else did, because he was in the wheelhouse, and I was standing outside the wheelhouse, which was a stupid
Well,
thing.
the story I got, I don't know if it was from one of your men or from you, but I thought it was your skipper
I don't
at his
think
45 shooting at the beach.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit. The guy was a little flaky.
Well, when did you put him off in the?
Well, the next day, of course, we both got, all of us, your ship and mine, LCT, got orders to go down to British Beach.
Right.
On D+1.
Right. Which were further east.
East, right. Gold, Juno, Sword were British, and Omaha, Utah. But when we left Omaha, that's the last time we saw Omaha Beach.
Yeah, well,
D-Day.
except we went down there to, I guess we went down on Liberty once or twice.
Yeah, I never did get down.
Oh, you never got, I got down there to see the cemetery. It started that first American cemetery.
Oh, had they? Up
Down
on the
there
hill?
above Clinton. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So I saw that before we left.
I never got down there. But anyway, we're underway the next day, all of us going down. And the skipper wouldn't get out of the sack. Well, he did get out. Then he sat in a chair all day long. He wouldn't do anything. He just had his head singing. So we get down to British Beach, and this is the thing where my signaling came in handy on the blinker light.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a big deal. I got on the light, and I was shining it. It was the battleship Rodman. Asked him, where do we go from here? And the guy answered me back. I felt like a pretty big deal talking to battleship. But anyway, we got in there and anchored. And I called flotilla headquarters on a radio. Mary was her call sign.
Yeah. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Mary, and we were Charlie Tear 622. You were Charlie Tear CT for LCT 614. But anyway, one of the flotilla officers, who were lieutenants then,
Right.
I forget which one it was. Some of those guys are named Delahoussaye, Rockwell. Who was that? Marine guy? Rock?
Yeah,
Rock.
Bob Rock was
Rock,
the engineering officer.
Engineering guy. But anyway.
There was another one, I can't think of his name.
Yeah. They came, one of these guys came aboard and they said, well, take the skipper out to that hospital ship. James O'Connor Jr.
Because he just kept sitting in the
He
chair.
just wouldn't do anything, and this guy tried to talk to him, and he didn't say anything. So we took him out and put him on a hospital ship. And I, like in the King Mutiny, assumed command. D+1. That was kind of fun, though. It was a good break for me.
Oh, yeah. Because
And a lot of fun, a lot of action. And then that night we had to unload an LST and take it into the beach, and that's when we're pulling off the beach, and we pulled up one of these obstacles with the mine on the top, and Benny Dubovik, the quartermaster, gets over there with a sledgehammer and knocks it off, and then fortunately it went off. Fell in water, didn't explode.
what did you do with it? How'd you get rid of it?
Well, it sunk because we were off the beach a little ways. We had been pulling in our anchor, pulling out to the anchor. Then we had to cut the anchor cable. So we
So you left that anchor there.
left that anchor there
Probably
along
still
with
there.
it's still there. And then we went out and tied up to another LCT for the night. Then later we got an anchor and
We left a souvenir on the beach. We had a little dog on board that was our mascot. What they call these dogs? White Spitz.
Uh-huh.
It's a Spitz dog. A little white, perky little dog.
Where'd you get him?
Oh, we picked him up in England.
That was
But
nice.
he didn't like Englishmen. He used to wet the Englishman's legs, apparently. But he found some little female dog over there, I guess, and went over the hill, so we never did see him again.
Resume now. Now that the lawnmower.
Yeah, no more lawnmower.
No more lawnmower.
You don't hear that background noise anymore.
It's a good time to also mention that George and Mary are here with us just for a short visit. Arrived yesterday, and tomorrow they go to Painted Post near Corning
Right.
for an elder hostel. So this is our first get-together in 30-odd years.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why all the sea stories and all that are coming
Yeah,
out.
we kept up by Christmas cards. That's how
Yeah, that's about it.
we communicated.
So now George has just finished talking about that little dog that they had aboard, and then we'll go on and talk a little bit about unloading all those ships over there, right?
Right.
Tell us about when you'd come alongside a merchant ship, George. How did that happen?
Well, we would get assigned to unload a merchant ship. The ports were not open yet. The Le Havre and Cherbourg were both bombed out pretty badly, and at first they were held by the Germans, and then after they were taken, then there had to be a lot of work done to get the docks ready to bring in big ships. So the job of the LCTs was to run back and forth from the merchant ships to the beach and bring equipment and material ashore. Sometimes we would bring in vehicles that the British were not even able to drive, so our crew would have to drive them off our ship when they got on the beach.
Very good drivers.
Well, they didn't grow up driving. They grew up, so they had to learn to drive after they got on the shores of France. But other times we would bring in a load of material where we would go in on the beach and allow the tide to go out. We would what they called dry out on the beach, and then stevedores would come aboard and unload that equipment. And quite often we'd go in and have a ball game or something while waiting for the next tide to come in so we could get back out to sea. But the interesting thing was the unloading of the merchant ships, so you can tell about some of the problems.
Well, we had lots of problems. First of all, one of the things that used to get us mad, you'd come alongside the merchant ship, and the trick is to get your line up fast so that you stay put rather than drifting all over. And there'd be a guy standing up there and look down at you. You throw up your line, and he'd say he's off duty. So all back in and go around again until there's somebody that's on duty up there to catch your line. But that didn't happen very often. Generally,
No.
they were pretty good guys, except for the way they used the head or the toilet in American talk. Head is Navy talk. And tell them about when they put the hose over the side, George.
Oh yeah. Well, they had what they called troop heads up on the deck, where the passengers that were aboard as army troops or something were not allowed to use the bathrooms downstairs, so they would use this troop head, which normally consisted of a big trough that was connected to like a fire hose, and the fire hose was dangled over the side to go into the water. But these fire hoses quite often would be right down on our deck, and we would collect all the sewage on the deck. So what we would do sometimes, the guys would get up there and tie a knot in that hose, and then they would get very disturbed because they couldn't untie it from up above, and their toilets would back up and they would have an awful time. And then what about the other heads in the ship?
The heads inboard or inside the ship that the crew used, it had a hole that exhausted out probably about a 3-inch diameter, 4-inch diameter hole that would come out and they'd dump all that stuff all over our decks. So our crew would get up there after we told them, please shut off the toilet or the head.
And they wouldn't be very cooperative.
No, they'd forget about that. So we'd get up there and shove a potato in it or a collision cone you'd pound in there. And then, of course, it all backs up inside their ship. But we felt that was fair game, seeing they were dropping it all over us.
Well, they wouldn't do anything about it, and we'd try to call in to get permission to pull away.
No way, you stay there.
And there would be our headquarters was called Mary. That was the code name. So we'd say, hello, Mary, this is Charlie Terror, 614. Request permission to pull away until the merchant ship stops the heads from running on our decks. They'd say, stay alongside. So we would have to stick it out.
And then this one time I heard the guy, the second time, he said, Mary, they're still doing it, and I'm getting away from here anyway. So he pulled away. So we did that for about 4 months.
Yeah.
We got back to England, back and forth, sun up to sundown, and that was our job. And we were supporting, being on the British beaches, supporting the, bringing the stuff in for the heavy fighting that's going on by the British up and Canadians up in Caen.
Yeah.
George, you said you got to Caen at one time.
Oh yeah, it was pretty well blasted out. It was, well, it took about 2 months from D-Day until it fell, and all that time they were shelling the Germans in Caen. There were a lot of civilians that were killed in that shell. It was a terrible, terrible destruction in the city. And now you go back there and the city is all new because they had to rebuild the whole thing just about. The cathedral was still standing.
Was it? And that was a big city too, a couple 100,000 people.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't it? That was a large city.
Yeah, there were probably 30,000 civilians that were killed in that.
That was terrible.
And the bombing attacks and the shelling.
Okay, George, then what happened?
Well, I want to recite one story. That I don't know if you knew about this or not, Bill. One night, we had just anchored. We worked till about 11 o'clock at night. And we had just anchored. I was still up on the con. And all of a sudden, we saw this anti-aircraft fire over on the beach. If a German plane was coming from the direction of the beach towards the water, you would always see this flak go up. You could see the tracers. So we knew that there was a plane coming, and we didn't know what was up. So we watched it. You know, we didn't have any way to do anything about it. We weren't supposed to shoot, so we just watched to see what happened. Well, all of a sudden, this shape came over, and it was obvious it was a plane, but we couldn't figure out what it was. It was a Stuka dive bomber attached to a Messerschmitt 109 fighter.
Oh, no.
And the Stuka, this old Stuka, was loaded with explosives. It was called a piggyback plane. Do you remember that?
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of that?
Oh.
The Germans used 4 of these. I've read about it since. But that thing came off the beach, you know, from the direction of the beach right towards us. And their whole purpose was hoping to steer it into the shipping area and sink a merchant ship.
Yeah.
But it went into the water. They released, you know, the ME went on, you know, it went on up and released the Stuka that was filled with explosives. And it crashed and exploded about, I don't know, 50 yards from our ship. And the stuff was flying all around. It was lucky nobody got hit.
Gee,
But it was a loud explosion. It was just fantastic. Because the whole thing blew up at once.
Yeah. Oh, that's something.
And so I've always tried to find more out about that, but I haven't been able to.
How about that great big storm shortly after D-Day?
Oh, yeah.
About
That was
2 weeks after, wasn't it?
10 days.
10 days?
Yeah.
Oh, that was miserable.
About the 16th or 17th of June.
Boy, it tore up one of those mulberries, artificial hybrids in Omaha, didn't it?
Yeah, they used sunken ships for theirs. The ones in the British beaches were made out of these big concrete things that they sunk, and they didn't move much.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
But the harbor there in the British beaches stayed pretty well. Do you remember the night that there was a storm where there was a lot of lightning?
I think I do, yeah, oh yeah.
There was a lot of lightning, and these British LCTs, they all carried these barrage balloons, which was tied to a cable.
Yeah.
And I remember that like it was yesterday. The lightning would hit the cable, and the barrage balloon was filled with hydrogen.
Yeah.
So it would burn up at the top of the cable, and then the cable was metal, and it would just disintegrate and turn into a column of red fire.
Beautiful sight.
So here's this,
You're not there.
every so often there'd be one of these big columns of fire with this burning balloon up at the top of it, and it was just amazing what it looked like.
Yeah.
We had one incident that I wanted to mention that was really kind of bad. We were tied alongside a merchant ship. I don't know if we mentioned this before or not, but we'd have to stay alongside even though the sea, if the sea was running, you got a lot of swells, it would bang the LCT into the side of the merchant ship and damage the plating in the merchant ship. So after several days of this, we'd have to go in and get our bow welded back together, the stern plates or something, wherever the damage was. We had our anchor winch was badly damaged because it would be right under the counter of the merchant ship. And swell would run the anchor winch right up into that, the cover for that.
Yeah.
And it cracked the torque converter. We had to run the anchor. We had to pour. I guess we used diesel oil. We poured diesel oil into that thing, and it would run out, but we were able to get the anchor in. But after it was cracked.
We had one often experience alongside a merchant ship in one of those swells, and we were unloading, taking Polish troops in, and of course there'd be tanks and trucks and stuff, but they would come down this ladder down the side of the merchant ship, and they'd jump aboard as we rose up. Well, this one guy missed, and he fell down in between the merchant ship and our LCT. And there was another guy in the ladder just above him. Fortunately, we could let go our lines and got away,
So
we wouldn't get crushed. If we'd hit him once, well, the guy would have been gone. But this other guy held on to him, and we were able to get the guy aboard, both of them aboard, as well as the rest of the
pulled it down in or something.
Yeah, and we got him aboard, and we put him on one of our bunks and pumped the water out of him, and he was okay, so he went in with the rest of his buddies, and off they go to fight the war.
Well, we had a similar incident, except that with one of our crewmen, we were alongside a merchant ship, and we were supposed to stay there all night. So along about, it was after we'd had our supper, I think, the ship was banging into the merchant ship. And so I went out there with the idea that I would try to get a fender and one of these big cushions in between to prevent the damage. And our motor machinist mate was a guy named John Dowling. He was not familiar with what happened on topside. He was mostly familiar with the engines on the boat, on the ship. He came over to help me, and he started to go between the anchor winch and the side of the merchant ship, just as the ship rolled. And I tried to warn him, and I didn't get it out of my mouth. The ship rolled and put him with his chest right against that anchor winch. And I was looking right in his eyes. And it was a terrible thing to watch.
How did he make out?
Well, he passed out, of course, and it broke a bunch of his ribs, apparently. But right away we called in and we got somebody to come over. We put him on a Stoke stretcher, unconscious, after I pulled him out of there. And got him on the Stoke stretcher, and then they took him over to the hospital ship. And he was about 2 months later, he was ready to come back to the ship. And apparently he had I think his chest was okay by then. But they found some kind of clot in his brain or something like that. I don't know what it was. So they sent him back to a naval hospital in Long Island someplace, and that's the last we heard of him. So I don't know if he fully recovered from met or not, but it was an awful experience. I'll tell you, looking at that guy's eyes all this
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
Because he knew it. He knew he was really in for it. You know.
Well, those, a lot of little incidents like that happen along the way. Well, then, maybe we better get back to England, George. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we finally did.
So after about 4 months over there in Normandy, which is, there wasn't much to see or do along those beaches.
Well, some people got to go to Paris.
Yeah, I got to Paris.
Oh, did you get to Paris from there? I never did.
It was about 2 weeks after the liberation of Paris.
Yeah.
And hitchhiked a ride on the Red Ball Express with
Oh, yeah.
the Army trucks that were supplying up in there. This was 2 or 3 weeks after the liberation of Paris. That was kind of nice looking around there. I'm sure Paris is much different now than it was then. We were treated very well, and that was okay. So let's go to England, huh?
Yeah, we finally got back to England. We went to Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, and that was the most beautiful sight in the world.
It's almost as pretty as your backyard here in Jamestown.
Yeah, right here in Jamestown.
That's very similar kind of lush,
yeah, except with a
greenery.
beautiful open harbor that opened up, and geez, it was like going to heaven after looking at those barren, beat up Normandy beaches for 4 months.
Well, it wasn't very far from a resort town called Torquay.
That's exactly right. So we were fortunate. We got back to Dartmouth at the same time. That had been in October of 1944.
Right.
Down in there.
Yeah.
Sometime in October.
And we're anchored up the river, well, tied to a buoy up the river.
Yeah, tied in a buoy. We could get ashore.
Yeah, well, remember the situation where the ferry stopped running? The ferry would stop running about 10:30 or 11. Because we'd be in Dartmouth, and to get to Torquay, which was where the best Liberty was,
Oh, yeah.
we would take the ferry over, and then it wasn't too far to get to Torquay. But if we came back late, we'd be in a weapons carrier or something, or a jeep.
Yeah.
We'd have to go all the way up to Totnes, which was up the Dart River, cross a bridge up there, and then all the way back down to Dartmouth, which is on the other side of the river.
And then there was the exciting night in Torquay. I have to tell the grandchildren about this one. I want to make sure that red light's still. Oh, yeah, there. I don't want us to run out of tape.
Oh, this was a very important night.
Oh, this is a big one.
We were on Liberty in Torquay.
We were on Liberty in Torquay. George and I go to this dance in the Spa Ballroom.
Spa Ballroom.
And it was the custom in England in those days that young ladies would go to these dances unescorted.
Right.
Now, I get accused of escorting some other young lady to that dance. You probably did, too.
I didn't.
Oh, didn't you bring one there?
I didn't bring anybody there. I met this one young lady when I was there.
Okay, well, anyway.
I don't remember you having another young lady there.
Well, that's what I get accused of. So
And you were probably dancing or something.
that might have been it. Then I saw Peggy, my present bride, over there. She was Wren in her Wren uniform, same as our waist. So I danced with her. As soon as I finished dancing, I said to George, "That's the girl I'm going to marry." And I said, "George, will you be my best man?" And what did you say?
I said, well, if you marry her, I'll be your best man.
Exactly. Now, at that time, keep in mind, George and I both had to finish college because we had to go back for another year. George to Colorado and me to Michigan. Then we had to find some sort of employment after that, too.
Yeah, right. And I had a job.
So
a
anyway.
lot of Americans in England were bringing back what they call war brides. So
Right.
this would have been a war bride.
That's right. But of course, I dated Peggy then from, she was on leave or something. It was probably November until we left England the following April.
Well, we had to go down to down near Portsmouth.
Right.
And come back to the States.
Right, to come back. So anyway, to get down to the important part. After coming back to the States, Peggy and I corresponded for about 2.5 years. And she came over here in August of 1947. that time I was working in Jamestown. George had graduated from Colorado U and was working in Schenectady for General Electric, correct?
Right.
I called up George. I said, come and be best man. He obligingly said okay. Came to Jamestown. We were married in my folks' house 1 week after Peggy landed in the United States. And the poor girl's put up with me for 47 years now. And George played a big part in that thing. Right from the time we met.
Yeah, I knew you longer than your wife.
Yeah, you did. So anyway, that was kind of an important thing.
Oh yeah, that was very important.
important.
Yeah, I met a young lady there at that dance also, but I didn't fall in love like you.
As soon as I saw this girl, I said, boy, that's for me. I want to marry her.
Yeah.
And it fortunately ended up that way.
Well, she was fine, I'll tell you.
Ah, beautiful little thing.
Still is. Very pert in that little uniform with the hat and everything.
Yeah, they were salty looking.
Oh, yeah.
Weren't they?
Yeah, the one I met, I didn't get a chance to become very well acquainted because she was a crew member on a motor torpedo boat. Some Wrens did that, and she was down around one of the eastern ports. I forget what the name of it was, but she had to leave the next day or a couple days later, I guess. So I think I saw her once more, and then she went down to be the crew member on the MTV, and so I stayed in touch with her parents for quite a while.
Oh, that was nice.
I'd go over there and take some food over, and they'd have some of their food that they would share with me. But it gave a nice place to go visit.
You might notice that George is drinking tea and I'm drinking beer. We used to have a pretty good touch for drinking beer. Schlitz beer was. He sort of lost his grip on that a little bit.
Well, I had a lot of training.
I think you've gotten sensible. George, I want to stop here because I'm worried about that tape running out.
Oh, the tape's about ready to quit.
I don't want us to lose out, so I'll check it.
We'll take a abbreviated.
Take a breather here, and I'll go in and get another tape to put in there.
Oh, okay.
We don't want to miss a minute of this.
Right.
20 minutes.
Yeah, right.
There'll be enough time to get us onto LSD.
Yeah. So anyway, let's see, we finished talking about you meeting Peggy, right?
Oh, yeah. That was exciting.
Yeah, and so you dated her for a while, and then we went down to Portsmouth, to a place called Vicarage Road.
Yeah.
We had to take our ships down there, and they took our crews and all the officers and put us in barracks in this place called Vicarage, and we had to box everything up, and they shipped the ships and all the equipment back to the States. And we waited a while, and then we got sent to a troop ship.
Right.
Do you remember the name of that troop ship? It was
Is that
Italian.
Yeah. I think we might have been on different troop ships. I'm not sure. I think the one I was on was a Monticello or something.
Monticello?
Something like that. I think. I looked it up once.
The Monticello was the ship my dad came back from France on after World War II, World War I.
Is that right? It might
Might have been a different Monticello.
Yeah.
The one I was on was I thought you were on that ship. It was a big ocean liner that had been converted. It was Italian. And it was called the Conte Bianco or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. But
I think they sent us back on different ships together.
well, maybe you're right. But the thing I remember was that the first day out, there were submarines in the channel, and they were shooting these mouth traps off all night long.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if they thought subs were around or something, but the mousetrap is like a depth charge, but it's not as large. And these things, every time they shot one, it was like somebody right outside hitting the side of the hull with the hammer. It was a whang, like that. But the other thing I remembered about that night is that they told everybody they were going to have an inspection for any liquor that anybody had aboard the next day, and that they expected all the liquor to be gone
Oh, great.
I think the implication was they were supposed to pour it over the side, but nobody poured it over the side.
I guess not.
So there was kind of a party that night, and everybody got rid of all the cognac and all the
Uh-huh.
French liquor that they had. But then we got back to the U.S. and I landed in New York.
I landed in Boston. Yeah.
In Boston?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were on a different ship.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what my experience was coming back.
Yeah.
We're coming into the harbor, and we'd been told that there would be a band to meet us, and that there'd be kind of a celebration, and that we could choose any hotel in New York where we wanted to stay. So I thought, well, the only hotel I know anything about is the what's the fancy hotel?
Waldorf
The
Astoria?
Waldorf Astoria, right? The Waldorf. So I chose the Waldorf, and so we pull into the harbor. We see the Statue of Liberty, and it was really great to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And no band was there though. And we got off and took all our gear. And the ones that were supposed to go to the Waldorf all got together in one place. And they had this, they had a bus or something to take us to the Waldorf. There must have been about 8 of us, I would guess, something like that. So we go to the Waldorf Astoria and go in the lobby, and there are no rooms for us.
That's great.
And here we are with our sea bags and our gas masks and our 45. We pile all the stuff in a big pile in the lobby and say, we're going to wait here until we get a room because we got nowhere else to go. Because the hotels in New York are all
Oh, yeah, they were old at that time.
So,
Sure.
and so the management was a little disturbed about this pile of board gear right there in the lobby. And we waited. And I remember, you remember a movie star by the name of Virginia Bruce?
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Bruce was singing in the lounge at the Waldorf.
Great.
So while we're waiting, Virginia Bruce came out and sat on the steps with us, and we had a nice chat.
Oh,
So she was quite a young lady.
yeah.
So
Well,
we
did you
talked-
ever get a room?
Well, let me go ahead.
All right.
So after about, it must have been 9:30, 10 o'clock, they came up to us and said, we have a room. Well, it turned out what they did, they had a room that had been used as a meeting room, but it had 2 bathrooms in it. It was a long room, and they put beds in there, enough for all 8 of us, and 2 bathrooms. So we took all our gear out of the lobby and went up and stayed overnight in the Waldorf. So we were there about 2 or 3 days. And then I went on Liberty.
Yeah.
I went home.
You had 30 days leave, right?
30 days leave, and I went home. And I was home when VE did.
Yeah. I think I was in Boston Harbor at the time of VE Day. And then I went home on 30 days leave. Then it was off to Camp Bradford, right?
Right.
Now, Little Creek amphibious space on the Chesapeake, part of, I think even now they've incorporated all that whole area into Virginia Beach. It's all part of the Virginia Beach complex, except this is a military amphibious space there.
Right.
And we were training to go on LST, landing ship of tanks, right?
Yeah, they were about 300 feet long,
Yeah.
where an LCT is 125 feet long.
Right, so it was quite a move up the line.
Right.
But a nice ship, really.
Oh yeah, they had a lot better quarters. They had regular galley where you could get food,
Yeah.
a coffee urn where you could get coffee whenever you needed it.
Yeah, that was good living for an LST.
We thought that was quite a move up.
Plus you had a lot of room on an LST because they had all these compartments where you could berth troops that you carried aboard,
Right.
and when there were no troops, well, you had all that extra space for you.
Yeah,
And
so
a large
we,
tank deck and main deck.
So we replaced some people that were getting off there.
Yeah. That LST 603,
Right.
George and I, again, were fortunate we got on the same ship. I was first lieutenant, and you were gunnery officer?
Gunnery and navigator.
And navigator. Oh, that's
Gunnery and
good.
navigator.
First lieutenant's just in charge of the deck crew, and navigator has to know something, and gunnery has to know something.
Yeah, and our captain was Mustang, ex-chief petty officer who was moved up to lieutenant. He was the lieutenant.
Yeah. He was a crusty old
He
guy.
was crusty. His name was Henry Raymond. But we replaced these guys, and then we got underway and went down the coast to Florida and around to New Orleans,
Right.
with the idea that we'd be re-outfitted in a shipyard in New Orleans, with the idea we would go to Japan in the Pacific for the invasion of Japan.
Now that LSD had been in the Mediterranean before, and then it came over,
Right.
and then we picked it up in Norfolk, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Norfolk.
Then
Little,
we went
Little Creek.
Little Creek. Then we went around, down around into New Orleans. We were in New Orleans about, I think it was about close to 6 months, wasn't it?
From, let's see, we got there like early September and late August.
Well, I know we were there for VJ Day.
Yeah, no, that's in August.
That was in August. So
We were there for VJ Day, and we stayed until like sometime in February.
Yeah. And while they overhauled the ship.
Yeah.
And then while they are tearing that ship apart, they put us up in hotels for 3 months, as I recall.
Right.
The Monteleone Hotel for a while, and the St. Charles Hotel for a while.
St. Charles first.
Yeah, I think it was. And then the Monteleone.
An interesting thing about the way the Navy does things, they put 4 of us in a room that had 2 single beds. so what we would do is pull the mattresses off, and 2 guys would sleep on the box springs, and 2 guys would sleep on the floor with the mattress. So,
But that was good duty.
oh yeah, it was nice.
Then VJ Day came, boy, were we happy. We weren't going to go to the Pacific, and the war was over, and
Everybody had a good time that day.
Got drunk out, didn't it?
Well,
Some of the other people
were so happy. They were all out on the streets, and we were on Liberty in town, and walking down the streets, we would either grab the girls and kiss them, or the girls would grab us.
That's right.
I don't know which way it was.
I think it was the girls packed up.
Yeah, that's right. But it was very interesting.
Well, then we went on a little training cruise, didn't we, after we shaken the thing down. We went to Galveston. We saw your brother, Don. He was in Houston.
Don was there. He came over to our ship, and then we went on Liberty together.
Yeah, that was nice.
He was on a destroyer escort. The
Nice.
Reuben James was his ship.
Was it?
Yeah, the Reuben James.
Named after...
After the one that blew up.
Oh, jeez. That was nice. So it was nice you could see your brother there.
Yeah.
Well, then we went down in the Caribbean. Went to San Juan first. Did we go to San? No, we went to
Guantanamo. We went to Guantanamo.
Guantanamo Bay. Yeah.
We had a little time there, and then we went down to Trinidad. We were supposed to stop in Jamaica. There was some kind of a uprising or something going on there, and we were supposed to stop in Haiti, and I think there was a dock strike or something in Haiti. So we didn't go to either one of those ports, but we went to Port of Spain, Trinidad, and stayed there about a week.
Yeah, it was a long week for me. I think we'll skip over that. I spent...
Bill got to stay on board. Everybody else had to go ashore.
I was fortunate enough to be able to stay aboard, and that's enough of that. So we left Trinidad. And we went to San Juan, didn't we?
Yeah, we went to San Juan, Puerto Rico. And we had a few days there.
We had a few days there. And then from San Juan, we came back up to Norfolk, didn't we?
We came to Little Creek again.
Yeah, Little Creek.
And we were supposed to get the ship ready for mothball.
Yeah.
What happened on the way back, though, do you remember that storm that we hit off Cape Hatteras?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's fun.
Oh, well, I had the deck, and the waves were, it was almost a hurricane, I think. I don't know. It was pretty bad. And the way the LST is built is very flexible.
Yeah.
So those waves would make that bow go up and down. And we had been told that by the people that had been on that ship before that there was a crack in the hull. And it had never been fully repaired. It had been strengthened, but it hadn't been fully repaired. And the captain apparently didn't know about it. And so he was down below in his quarters, and I had the deck, and it was just blowing up a storm. It was dark and windy and no light. You couldn't see anything. except the waves were breaking over the side of the ship.
Having the deck, incidentally, means George was the officer in charge of the ship, running the ship.
Standing watch.
Standing watch on it.
I was a navigator, and I wasn't supposed to stand watch,
No.
but the captain put me on the watch bill.
Oh, that was nice of him.
I had to stand watch. But anyway, I was on the deck, and I remembered. I said, we better get the captain up here. So I sent the messenger down to tell the captain that we had a severe storm. And so he came up and he looked around and he said, "Sound general quarters."
Is that right?
Yeah, he did. He said everybody everybody at, well, he thought the ship, even though he didn't know about
it
the
break
problem,
up, huh?
he thought it was a possibility. They were afraid anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he thought it was capsizing. The storm was a bad storm. And he got everybody topside with their life jackets on. And then fortunately, after a while, it subdued and then he let everybody go back to bed. But that was a bad night.
Well, the nice thing about an LST, as far as riding, it rolled a lot. We'd go 45 degrees or more on one side and then back 45 or more on the other side, but it didn't pitch.
Yeah, if there was ballast to drive, there wasn't much chance of it.
And it wouldn't pitch going fore and aft. We always used to say it.
It'd come down and slap.
Yeah.
Top it down and slap through the water.
We used to say that it always beat the wings to them. But it rolled like crazy.
Yeah, well,
I didn't mind that.
The main thing is to try to stay out of the trough.
Yeah. Oh, you get the trough.
Very
of that.
difficult.
Oh, you're in trouble. Well, then we got into Norfolk, right?
Right.
Then it was time to get discharged and go home for me.
Yeah, well, if you had enough points, you could get off. You were older than I was, so you got off before I did.
Yeah, that's what I was an old guy. But anyway, they shipped me up to 33 Pine Street in New York City, which is the street right behind Wall Street. It was on over Easter weekend. And I was discharged in New York City and came home and went back to college.
Well, I went to Great Lakes in Chicago. E.C. Solberg was the supply officer, and I went to Chicago. And we had a couple of days there that were interesting. And we finally got separated there. Went home, went back to school.
Well, there are all kinds of tales that George and I have been reviewing with each other about our times on the LST and the LCT. They'd take up about 6 more hours on a tape like this.
When I graduated, it was in, let's see what month was that? It was February of 47. And my first assignment was up in Syracuse.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? So I bought this old car. I traded a motorcycle. I'd had a motorcycle. And I decided I wasn't cut out to be a motorcycle man. So I traded the motorcycle with a little bit of cash for an old Plymouth.
It was a taxi.
It had been a taxi in Washington, D.C. It had leather seats.
Beautiful.
It was pretty badly beat up, but I'd overhauled the engine, and I drove it back over through Canada on the north side of Lake Erie, and came down into Syracuse through Niagara there and by Buffalo and over to Syracuse. And on the way, I'd stopped and joined a Polish wedding in some Canadian town up there, and had a pretty good time crossing the country. But when I got to Syracuse, once in a while I would call up Bill and I'd say, "Hey, is anything going on this weekend?" And he'd say, "No, well, come on down. We'll have a get together." So I, several weekends while I was in Syracuse, I came to Jamestown. And
that was fun.
We had a
mechanical difficulty. All right, let's go back to you went to Polish wedding in Canada.
Yeah, we had a little trouble with the camera here, but we'll go ahead with the story.
Yeah.
After I graduated from college, I got this old car that I mentioned, and went across to Canada, stopped at this Polish wedding, and then ended up in Syracuse, where I spent 3 months testing radar for battleships. While I was there, it was not too far from Jamestown, and New Bill was down here waiting to have somebody to come and keep him company, so I came down several times, and we had an interesting few weekends there. This was before, this was in the year 1947.
Right.
And of course that was just before Peggy came over and they got married. So I was in Syracuse that 3 months. Then I went on to Schenectady, and during my time there, in August, I came out for the wedding when Bill and Peggy got married, and spent another 5 years. I spent 5 years in Schenectady, and a 3 month assignment in 1948 over in Pittsfield. But during the early part of this time, I lived in a co-op house called Hangover Hall, where a bunch of...
How did they get that name, George?
I don't know.
The older
Somebody
boys...
named it before I was there.
The older boys had hangovers.
The older boys used to tell me about the parties they had.
Oh, okay.
And they sometimes had a hangover. But we enjoyed being in this locality, and while I was there, I learned to ski. And in the process, we took one of the guys that didn't know how to ski up to North Creek, north of Lake George, to learn how to ski. In the process, he broke his leg coming down one of the upper trails, and we put him in the hospital when we got back. While he was in the hospital recovering from his broken ankle, he met some of the nurses, and after he got out, while he was still on crutches, he arranged some blind dates for some of us. Well, my blind date for one of these escapades was a girl named Mary Leach, who was one of his nurses. And Mary and I went together for a few months, and then in May of, on Mother's Day, as a matter of fact, on Mother's Day of 1951, we got married. And we lived there in Schenectady for the rest of the time until 1953, then moved to Chicago, lived in a suburb called Park Forest. And after a couple of years there, since I was traveling up in Michigan and Wisconsin, we moved to Milwaukee. I think you came out to visit us.
I did. I visited you once in Milwaukee. Yeah, that was fun.
And while we were in Schenectady, we had two sons, Chris and Eric. Chris is now 42, and Eric is 41. They were born in the summer. And when we were in Milwaukee, we had a daughter named Carrie, and Carrie is now 36, and will be 37 in December. She has two little girls. One is about 9, Heather, or is 9, and Chelsea, who is 6. They're in 4th grade and 1st grade, respectively. Eric has 4 children. There's Brian, 13, Sarah, 12, or 11, and Justin, 9. And a new little girl who is our latest grandchild, named Mari, whom they've adopted when they were in Japan last. I guess they started the adoption process in December of last year. And it's taken this long, and she's still not officially adopted.
But she's with them, and she's a cute little girl.
Oh, she is cute. She smiles a lot.
Pretty picture.
So in 1960, we moved down to Phoenix. I got into process control. She had a plant there that was just starting with the idea that we would automate steel mills, power plants, chemical plants, refineries, what have you. And so I did that for about the next, I don't know, 30 years, I guess. And then I retired. It was in the process I changed companies. Honeywell bought the business in 1974, and so I became a Honeywell employee. In about 90, I guess it was 82, I retired from Honeywell and went to work for Arizona Public Service in about 84 after I'd remodeled the house.
Great.
And then I retired from APS in about 1991. So I have 2 retirements well, three. I'm retired Navy also.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't beat that.
Right. So that's about the amount of my history. And Mary and I are now enjoying being here in Jamestown with Bill and Peggy. It's very pleasant. And we hope that everybody that sees this tape will find it interesting.
Oh yeah. Just to wind up, to give our end of the family, our son Dave, now 45, lives outside of Washington, D.C. Wife Cynthia, and they have a son Scotty, who's 15 months old now.
Oh, I forgot to mention my son, my oldest son. His name is Chris, and he lives in Fort Worth. He works.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. He works for Lockheed. He used to work for General Dynamics. Lockheed bought that business, and so he became a Lockheed employee now. And GE sold the business that Dave is in.
Yeah, Jan's husband, Dan.
Jan's husband
Yeah.
is in to Martin, and now Martin and Lockheed have joined together, so they're both.
They work for the same company.
Yeah, they'll be with Martin Lockheed, or Lockheed Martin. Chris works in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
Built the F-16 airplane.
So that'll be kind of nice. His son and our son-in-law Dan Lowney work for the same company in different places together. So our son,
Like we were on different ships together.
we were on different ships together one time. And then our daughter Jan is now 42, see that, and daughter Ann is 8, Joe is 7, and Teddy is 3.5. So that's enough of that, George. We'll get together again and tell more sea stories and all of that.
Right. We haven't covered
We haven't even scratched the
haven't really got the waterfront covered yet.
No, we got a long way to go yet. We'll miss you when you leave tomorrow. There we go.